Good morning and welcome back to Gardening in the Dry Tropics. This weekend it's nice and hot. The average daytime temperature is 28 degrees, but we're having a few hotter days, so maybe up to 33 degrees today in late October. So our cherry tomatoes have finished, so this was pretty much our last picking of our cherry tomatoes. So that's a 2-litre ice cream container full, and at the moment in the shops they're selling, cherry tomatoes are selling for $2.50 for 200 grams. So you can see I've pulled out what was left of the cherry tomato vines there, and I've thrown them on top of my compost, and I'll just keep throwing more on there, and then in due course I'll have good soil to throw back into my garden. I've taken out of the garden, so you do have to throw some back. Now we'll go over to the garden beds and I'll show you where we had the tomatoes. So here we did have kaffir lime popped up, so we had that growing, and then around it we did have some cherry tomatoes pop up. So I did put some mesh, some fencing mesh around here, and we got a huge amount of tomatoes. It was just absolutely amazing. So I've pulled that one out of here. This needs a bit of a tidy up. I'll mow around here. Okay, so I'll tidy this one up. You can still see there's a few cherry tomatoes that have fallen on the ground when we were picking, but that's okay. Some for us, some for the chickens. Throw them over there. Now I still do have some cherry tomatoes coming through on these bushes. They're getting towards the end now. And this morning I did have the greater bowerbird. He was in here and he was picking off the tomatoes, swallowing them one at a time. And he ate 7 and then he flew off. So he's probably taking them back to his nest to, I'm not sure if it was a male. It was the male, so I think he's taking them back to the nest to feed the chicks, or the mother sitting on the nest. So down this end our beans are pretty much finished. The cherry tomatoes are finished, so I've pulled them out. I still do have, there's be a few more that come through, and so I haven't ripped those ones out yet. I just trimmed the bush back. In the meantime, there's not much happening in the garden, so I planted some bush beans. So you can see, let's pick a couple there. So some of the beans, and they're only small at the moment, but you can see how many beans we're getting on them there. It's quite a small bush, and you can pick these pretty much every day. They're growing that quick. It's just, with the amount of bushes we've got in, it's just crazy. Okay, on the last video that I did, our quality wasn't quite so good, so we've got a better camera. Okay, so here's the garden bed. I have thrown a bit more material in it. I did get some clean fill off a neighbour 4 houses down the block. He was digging out his driveway, so I've thrown that underneath. It was cracker dust and sand for the most part, and then I've thrown the topsoil and mulch back on top. So this is now ready for planting. I did also put in 2 poles, and I picked up this frame from Bunnings. That was about $65. So this is the frame for construction sites. So I've just got it sitting in the ground, and I'll twitch that onto these poles. And this is really good for growing your beans on, or climbing tomatoes, or any type of climbing plant. And it's great. I like it. It's cheap. It'll last quite a while in a garden situation, and you can stick your hand through it and pick from either side. Okay, in the back garden bed that I've got here on the neighbour's fence, the kale has still been coming through nice and strong, and with it planted so dense, it does help suppress the weeds. As you can see over here, we've been pulling some plants out as we've been eating them. We're towards the end of these greens, but these other small salad greens are coming through nice and strong. Up this end of the bed I didn't have as good a soil, so we did plant in some beans to try and get some more nitrogen to the soil. So these ones have got yellow beans, butter beans. So we've been picking them and getting a nice feed off once we go through and strip the bushes.
Action!
Alright, back again. Today we're going to have a look a bit more at composting, and I have emptied this compost and put it into another bin, and that one's really cooking now. It's in the heat, it's super hot, lots of stuff in there. I'll just rip the lid off and have a quick look. So this is in the sun here. The sun is belting on it all day, every day. And get ready, we'll have a quick look inside, see if anything's come up to the top. I'm expecting most of the creatures have gone down deeper because it's really hot. But okay, no, back a bit, don't get in too close. Okay, so you can see in the compost bin here, I did have some roast chicken or roast pork, and we threw in the wrapper with all the fat, and I've left it in there. It doesn't even smell too bad now, but the insects have gone through and eaten most of it. Got watermelon peel, newspaper, cantaloupe, other kitchen scraps, tea bags, and garden clippings. And that is, you can feel the heat coming off that, so that'll get hot enough to break down all sorts of stuff. Oh, see if we can get a picture of that insect that just flew in. Can't see him now, but that was the American soldier fly, and he lays his larvae in compost bins. And over on my right hand side here, I have potted up a couple of banana suckers. So I normally keep 3 bananas at a time, and down here you can see there's another sucker. Now they can be a little bit hard to dig out. You have to dig around a bit, so the suckers that grow out a bit from one of the main trunks are easier to dig out, and dig them out with the root system. If you dig them out and they've got a bit of a root system, then they're easy to whack in a pot. So we've got that earmarked for Aya. She was keen to put some bananas in her backyard. So normally they'll have grow 3 bananas, no more than that in a clump. So they call it like the mother, daughter and granddaughter. Beyond that, you're starting to rip too much goodness out of the soil. The bananas are pretty heavy on taking potassium out of the soil. So if they're not fruiting well, you can throw in more potassium. Now if we just go around the other side, we'll have a look at the bag of bananas on one of the... So up here I've got the hand of bananas. The bananas are starting to yellow up and swell a bit now. They'll still be a little while until they're ready to pick. And I've put on top of it, I've cut open a chicken feed bag at both ends, and I've stuck it on the top and wired it on. Now that's to stop the fruit bats from landing on the bananas, and their sharp little claws put all their marks on the bananas, and they don't look nearly as attractive. And then once the bananas actually get fairly ripe, they'll start eating them as well. So that's why that bag's there. Okay, welcome back to the Dry Tropics Gardening, and today I'm going to have a quick look at some sprinklers. So this is the classic gardening sprinkler. It's made out of metal, they last a long time, it has a plastic fitting these days. They used to have a brass one. Just clip them into your hose and that's ready to spray. Now these throw out quite a lot of water quite quickly, but their throw isn't particularly far. So we'll just put this one on and I'll just show you. Okay, that's on full bore, and I'll just measure how far that water's just hitting me out here. Oh, there. Okay, that's out to 4.2 meters. Okay, now I just did that because we'll compare that to another sprinkler. This one's the Wobbly-Tee, and it's been around for 20 years. It's made out of plastic, and at the moment in Townsville you can trade in your old metal sprinkler for a Wobbly-Tee. The metal sprinklers you can buy from Bunnings for say about $6.50, and the Wobbly-Tee costs around $24. Because the council wants to save water, they're recommending and doing the free changeover to these. So I've got some Wobbly-Tees and we'll give them a test. Now if we just have a bit of a zoom in there on the head, you can see the head does wobble, thus called the Wobbly-Tee, and it's got all channels, so that'll wobble, move around, and then water sprays out of those channels. Now on the metal garden sprinkler, let's move back a little bit there, it was quite a fine mist coming out. The Wobbly-Tee doesn't do that, it throws out a lot less water, it throws out a bigger drop size and it throws it further. So you tend to need to have it on longer, but you get less evaporation with the large drop size. Now the other advantage for this Wobbly-Tee, you can get a smaller one, but this is a larger one, is that you can, water goes in here, and there's a little filter basket to stop it getting blocked up. Pretty straightforward. On this end there is a removable cap, and you can screw on another adapter, and you can hook up second Wobbly-Tee off there by running a hose. Now the cheapest way to get this connector and get your hose is just to buy the pre-made hose sections. I bought some new blue hose, 15 meters. It's already got the connectors on the end. I already get that with it, so it's just the one price. I'm trying to think how much they were. I think they were about $22 for the 15 meter hose reel, so I've bought that. I've got a large yard, so I'm not actually going to use one Wobbly-Tee. I'm going to use 3. So I've already got them set up. I've put another cap on the other one. So this now splits off into 2. It's showing the add-on ability. Right out. Now my point of interest with the Wobbly-Tee was, I've got a big yard. If I hook up 3, what sort of throw do I get, and can I water most of my yard using 3 of them instead of moving around the small metal sprinkler every 15 minutes or so? Right out. So we'll go and hook these up. This one here is running off to another Wobbly-Tee further up the yard. This one's running off to Wobbly-Tee over near my garden beds. Now I'll disconnect my old metal sprinkler. Rightio, connect up the Wobbly-Tee. Okay, so they're all connected up. Now if I just get the camera operator to stand back in the middle. So okay, as it's blowing the air out of the system, you can see the Wobbly-Tees are firing away, and if you have a shot on the Wobbly-Tee, just the one over there, you can see they're quite a large drop size coming out. There's still a bit of air in the system, so just wait till that blows out. And then if you pan directly behind you, you can show the other Wobbly-Tee. Rightio. Now you can see that Wobbly-Tee where it is now, it's throwing all the way over to my garden path, and those drops, and it rotates, it just keeps going around and around and eventually hits everywhere. And if I leave this going, I don't normally water this time of day, I water morning and evening, but we'll check that throw. I've now got 3 sprinklers on, and we'll see if the throw is better than 4.2 meters either side on the metal one. So I'll just switch off the hoses there, and we're going to measure from that Wobbly-Tee out to where it's hitting just on the edge of the path. You can see down here the water drops are hitting on the bricks, and if you stick your foot on there, we'll measure across. Okay, that was at 5.95 meters, so nearly 6 meters that's throwing all around. So I'm getting 6 meters off by 3 sprinklers, and it's 6 meters each side. So I can do 12 meters, 2 of them I've got 24 meters, 3 of them I've got 36 meters. So I do find with these 3 Wobbly-Tees on, I'm watering virtually all of my backyard in one simple hit. During the dry season, the grass doesn't grow that quick in Townsville, so it's packing up the hoses isn't too bad. And then just up this end of the yard, I just do have to water that a little bit separately, which is fine. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed the quick road test of the Wobbly-Tee. It was invented in Australia. Yeah, I definitely recommend them. I'm very happy. I've been using it for a bit over a week, and I think they're great.